I've done a shitload of them. Yeah.
And what is the like immediate impact?
Oh, it heals soft tissue way better than anything else that I've ever used before.
So like what, for example, what injury did you have that you felt?
The biggest one, I've talked about it before. I apologize if you heard this before, people. I had a rotator cuff tear, a full-length rotator cuff tear, and went to a doctor, went to the UFC's doctor. They sent me to an orthopedic surgeon. He looks at my MRI. You can't believe I can do anything. He says, I can't believe you can do anything with this shoulder. Like, this is you have a full-length rotator cuff tear. But he does all the stuff with me, like push down, push up, and he goes, like, you're pretty functional. He goes, I think it's probably because you have a lot of muscle around the joint, but he goes, but you're going to need surgery. He goes, you could try to rehab it, but you're going to need surgery. I go, really gonna need surgery? He goes, yeah. I go, am I ruining my shoulder by not having surgery? He's like, potentially. He's like, try your best rehab, put it off as much as you want, but you're going to need surgery. So then I go to Dr. Roddy McGee in Vegas, and this was years ago. He's doing stem cells with the UFC athletes. He's a bunch of different people. He's like, well, we could try it. And I think the stem cells I got them actually aren't even available anymore because they were too good. So they inject it in my shoulder, and then after a couple of weeks, it feels pretty fucking good. And then I rehab it. I'm doing like bands and all sorts of different stuff. I get it to the point where it starts feeling good. I start light kettlebells, feeling pretty good. I go back to him 6 months later. He does an MRI. He says, this is the most astounding thing I've ever seen in all my years of being an orthopedic surgeon. He goes, the tear is gone. Like, you just wrote this full-length rotator cuff tear that was going to need surgery doesn't exist anymore. Like, when I say, like, my shoulder is better, I mean, it doesn't bother me at all. Like, at all. I do everything. I hit the bag. I do kettlebells with 70 pounds. I do swings and curls and cleans and presses. Zero pain. Not a one thing like, man, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. It like feels 100% normal.
Yeah.
And all stem cells. Like, I could have got cut with a sling.
And then you're done.
Didn't do any of that.
I have a little bit of a shoulder issue, actually. I'm curious if the stem cells...
100%. Like, I'll bring you to Ways to Well. That's in Austin. Listen, man, they've healed so many people that I'm friends with.
I had a scapular,
many guys that I know.
Like minimal scapular movement. I think that was the issue. So I was making up for the fact that my scapula doesn't move that much with just stretching out the muscles around it. Does that make sense? So, like, I guess that the scapula is this bone here.
The scapula is the one that kind of like hangs off.
Yeah, and like that's supposed to move up with your arm when you extend it, and it was staying there, but I was still moving my arm. So I'm stretching all, I guess, the muscles or tendons or whatever.
What had happened to your scapula that made it freeze like that?
I don't know. Like I was told that I might have like a small tear in the rotator cuff.
Do you hang? Do you ever hang from your hands?
I mean, I do like pull-ups as part of like my exercise routine when I'm doing any upper body.
Pull-ups are great exercise, but hanging is great for shoulder health. So what I do every day for at least a minute, usually more. I usually do like a couple of sets of hangs before I do anything. But like, I'll do my warm-ups with like push-ups and bodyweight squats, and then what I do is I chalk up my hands and I grab a hold of the bar and I just hang. And I just try, and I feel my back popping, like it decompresses your back because your spine, like the weight of your hips and your legs is pulling on your spine for the first time. Normally, life is pushing down on you. Gravity, the weight of your body is pushing down.
Wow, and now you're using gravity to pull it all out.
Yes. So I do that. I hang that way. And then I also do that Dex. We have a machine out there. Teeter, the company that makes those things where you hang by your ankles.
Yeah, I've seen it.
They have a great one where it's called the Dex. I like it better than the ankle one, where you hinge at the hips and you fall forward, and then it's basically like your lower body and your hips are carrying, like locking your weight in place, and you're leaning forward, so the full weight of your upper body is decompressing your back. And I'll feel it going like pop, pop, pop. I'll feel like little pops in my back, and I stretch it and I move on that thing. And it's all just about keeping the spine pliable and keeping the range of motion in your spine, but also in your shoulder joints.
Yeah.
It's one of the best things for shoulder joints is to just hang. And I'll hang with one arm sometimes. I'll hang with both arms.
Yeah.
But I'm just like letting it all stretch out. So it stretches all the mobility of your shoulders and creates space in there, allows everything to move freer, and then I'll do my chin-ups. So I do my sets of chin-ups,
So that's your
dips,
stretch,
pull-ups.
essentially.
Yes.
Okay, maybe I have to add that in. Yeah.
I also stretch on a bar where I grab the bar and I turn like this and I get it like that and I get like a deep stretch that way and I get a deep stretch the other way. And
I'll
I
do that
these,
on my back on the ground.
You should also do these things called crossover symmetry. Is these bands and they have varying resistance, like different colors or different strength of resistance. You don't even need a lot of resistance. The whole idea is just you're working the tendons and all the connective tissue, and you're just doing all these like different shoulder exercises. And so they cross, like one is attached to a post over here and the other one's here. So I'm doing these and I'm doing these and I'm pinning them against my arm and I'm doing it like that, where I'm just working the rotator cuff muscles and just to keep everything.
You're creating the torque on the joint.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, when you're lifting weights, you can kind of manipulate what part of your body is lifting.
You can, and that's how you get injured sometimes, too.